Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hump Day edition, the Wednesday edition of The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike Poworski. I'll be your co-host for today. I am the coast from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most. Here on The Rundown, as we bring you 2A news and conservative views. Welcome to the program, everyone.
Hey, folks, as you know, today is a very special day in our week. What do we call it, Mike?
Hump Day!
Hump Day!
Oh, Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
Oh, yeah. Hump Day, Hump Day, Hump Day. Gotta love this day. It's all downhill from here, Mike.
You know, it is, Craig, and I know as we watch the collage there of Hump Day festivities, I still have the it's raining tacos in my head. So from yesterday. So it's just
well, that's because taco. See, we got to try and find a way. See, Taco Tuesday has now become like a very festive day. It is now very enjoyable because of our new theme song. And so now with Hump Day, it's like, you know, like I said, we start picking up momentum. So it starts on Taco Tuesday, and we start picking up momentum.
That's right.
Got the big mo, bruh. Got the big mo.
That's it. It will lead us into, is it Tasty or Thirsty Thursday tomorrow, which I like to call Margarita Thursdays. So
exactly. You know, eventually what we're going to do is it's all going to start on Monday, and it's going to be Manic Monday is going to start to become a thing, right? Where it's all going to be all downhill for Monday.
Oh yeah. Just take it over. Just be like, yeah, we're done.
We got to figure out how to make that a thing. Or at least make it feel like a thing. It doesn't have to be a thing. It just has to feel like a thing.
Much like the daylight savings time, you know, we could just vote to eliminate 3 days a week. We could just, and we'll just put it somewhere else. And like daylight savings time. You know,
just make the days
move the hour here. We're gonna move the hour here, but then we're gonna put it back there. And it's what's the old quote? Is only in America did they believe you could cut the bottom foot off a blanket and sew it to the top foot and make it longer. You know,
that's the new math.
Yeah. That's what it is too. It's the new math. It is the new math. Yeah.
Exactly. So, Mike, let's go ahead and let's get into today's stories. And our leading story today is, I know this is a moment that you all have been waiting for, and that is the day where O.J. Simpson is finally free. That's right. O.J. Simpson is finally free. He is now off parole. He's cleared it 12 years after stealing his own memorabilia. Hilarious. But so now he is off parole, and you know, Mike, I think the most important part about this is he can finally go and find the real killer.
And that's what he said. Listen, he would not rest until the real killers were found. So clearly he's going to be out looking for them. But yeah, I mean, how ridiculous was that conviction, by the way? First off, we all saw the OJ trial. Well, those of us that are old enough saw the OJ trial and watched it happening in person or listened to it. That was the first time Court TV was in a real courtroom, right? That made national publicity. So, but listen to it for the most part. We're listening to it on the radio at work, going back and forth, and hearing at the very end, you had your head down because you're like, wow, the state completely did not make its case against OJ, and knew what was going to happen. He was found not guilty, and I respect the court's decision. He was found not guilty, but then almost as if to make up for it, he steals like you said, his own memorabilia, and gets convicted of armed robbery for taking his own stuff back that was taken from him. So it's like, oh, listen, we couldn't put you away for what you should have gone away for, so we're going to put you away for something that you don't need to go away for.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, I remember distinctly at the time when that verdict was read, and you know, I kind of followed the trial, not really, but I kind of followed it, and I followed all the information and everything. But it was like people on both sides, black, and when I say both sides, I mean most black people were, wanted him to be found innocent, and by the way, which didn't mean that they believed he was innocent. And most white people, it seemed like, were like, well, he should be found guilty. And what was interesting to me was how people were invested in a verdict that really had nothing to do with them. You know what I mean?
Well, he's a celebrity. It had everything to do with them. You know, this was the first celebrity murder trial, right? It just happened to be the first one that crossed over the racial boundary.
Well, it was the first one that was televised.
Yes,
Well,
first
which was
celebrity
interesting
trial
because
televised. Yeah,
I think if you go back and you look, and I think Dave Chappelle did a really good job of this, it was like, okay, so O.J. Simpson started off black.
yeah,
Then he became, you know, in his eyes, he became white, you know, because of his celebrity and his money. But then he was charged with murder, and all of a sudden he was black again. It's like,
Yep.
really?
Yep.
I think that, and this was the interesting thing. I think that there were a lot of people who were upset about the verdict because they felt like justice had not been done. I think
Right.
there were people who were happy with the verdict because they felt like, and once again, I'm not saying this is the case, but many black people feel like that the justice system is not fair to black people. But I think what this proved was this, is that it has less to do with black and white and more to do with whether you have money or don't have money.
Yep.
Because if you have the money to hire the types of lawyers and experts that O.J. Simpson was able to get, then maybe you can get away with murder.
Yeah.
Or at the very
Yeah.
least, you have a better chance of defending yourself. And many people who go into the justice system don't have the resources to be able to defend themselves. And I talked about yesterday on the Daily Bullet with Paul Lathrop, you know, the problem is 94% of felony convictions are, in fact, plea bargain deals. Now, I'm not saying that all of them are innocent people. I'm not even saying most of them are innocent people. But I'm willing to bet that there's a percentage of those folks who plead guilty because they don't have the resources to be able to effectively defend themselves in a system that is designed to now, or at least been created to push the idea of a plea deal as opposed to getting your day in court.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes down to money, right? If you
Right.
don't have the opportunity to, like you said, resources, I call it money. If you don't have the money to pay for the legal team, excuse me, you don't have the money to pay for the legal team, you're not getting it. So I have what time is it? I have a unique OJ Simpson story that I want to relate to you. If we have a moment, we have a moment.
Oh, no, we got a moment. Go for it.
I was no. Put us both on the screen. I want to see your reaction. I want
Okay.
to see your reaction. I was coming back from the jail. I had just dropped a prisoner off at the jail.
Make that clarification. You were just coming back from the jail. Like,
I dropped a prisoner off at the jail. Somebody who had been arrested and taken to jail lawfully. And I remember being at the jail saying, come on. It's OJ verdict day. It could be back any second now. I need to get back out to the car, so I can listen to the AM radio, waiting to hear the OJ verdict. And as I start driving back to my my area, the dispatcher calls in over the radio that there's a axe murderer in progress going on. And right about that time, they come back on the regular radio, the AM radio, and they're doing the verdict is in. We'll have it for you in moments. So I had in one set of speakers from the car's AM radio, I'm listening to the OJ verdict, trying to be read, and then from the dispatch radio, I've got the dispatcher in my ear doing and now he's outside with the axe. There's blood on the axe. He's swinging it around. He's chasing her. So I've got blow by blow of axe murderer being called in from the dispatcher who's talking to the witness on the scene, and I've got the OJ Simpson trial going on in the other ear, and I'm like, I'm like, shut up, dispatcher! I'm trying to listen to OJ. So I don't know what kind of sense of focus that gives me or not, but I knew where I was going with that call, and then there's a guy with an axe. Good, I want to find out if OJ's guilty or not. So literally got the not guilty like as pulling into the driveway. So,
man. I remember when we were doing it, I was working at a place. I don't want to mention it, but I remember they actually were. Now this is not in the day and age of like high technology. But they actually were broadcasting on a monitor in the conference room the verdict of the OJ trial. And I remember,
Right.
and there weren't, by the way, and this was a place, there were not many black people working there at the time. And I remember
Right.
I really didn't have an opinion one way or the other about the whole
Right.
thing. I just remember that when the verdict came in, these people crying. And I'm like, what? I just, to me, I'm like,
Yeah. Why are people
I just so
crazy?
want to just say, look, get a life. All
Yeah.
right. Look, I'm like, this is
Yeah.
nothing to do with you. Why are you so invested in the idea of this guy going to jail?
Right.
I
Right.
just, it, and it's kind of funny because, we always laughed and joked at the barbershop. It was like, everyone was like, yeah, OJ, da, da, da. But then you'd be like, wait, wait, wait. Yeah, but he did it, right?
Yeah. OJ, a good man. You gonna let him give you a shave? Oh no, hell no, hell no.
It was just kind of a, yeah, he did that. I mean, the justice system, blah, 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 but he did that, right?
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I wouldn't hand OJ a butter knife to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay, I'm not putting a knife in that man's hand, no matter what.
No, not even close, not even close. But yeah, so that anyway, that was an interesting one. So OJ is finally free. So the real killer soon to be revealed.
That's right. Stay out of his way. If you're on the golf course and you see him out there, get out of his way. He's looking for the killer.
He's looking for the killer. Exactly.
Exactly.
All right. Moving right along. Now let's get on to a real scandal. Now, this is something that I think we all already knew, but now it's actually been revealed in court pleadings. Now, John Stossel, if you've ever watched any of his stuff, John Stossel is a libertarian kind of reporter, journalist who does a lot to expose a lot of the left in the mainstream media. But what's interesting about this was he is suing Facebook for defamation because of some pieces that he did on climate change, and they were actually fact-checked. So he's suing Facebook for defamation. So Facebook, in the process, in their court filings, actually admitted that their fact checks are just opinion. In other words, there are not facts in their fact checking, right? That's what they're saying. They're saying that they should be protected because they are, in fact, opinions. In fact, right here, I'll read this section to you real quick. It says, beyond the threshold of Section 230 problem, Section 230 being the thing that protects the internet or web internet companies from being considered producers of content that keeps you from being able to sue them. It says the complaint also states that the claim that for defamation, for one, Stossel fails to plead facts establishing that Meta, used to be Facebook, acted with actual malice. Well, we all know they're left-wing liberals, so we know they have malice, which as a public figure he must. For another, Stossel's claims focus on fact-check articles written by Climate Feedback. Now, what they're saying is it ain't them, it's Climate Feedback. Not through the affixing of the Facebook platform. The labels themselves are neither false nor defamatory. To the contrary, they constitute a protected opinion. So, Mike, we know this now. We now know for a fact that they are opinion. Now, you and I we always knew that, right? I mean, anybody with any common sense, meaning any conservative, knew this, or most conservatives knew this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how many times did you have to just open up your Facebook and see the cover message saying, warning, facts below this are confirmed to not be true. And then you open it up and you're like, dude, it's the sunrise. It's just, it literally gave me the day of the week. It's, how can you say this is not true? It's strictly opinion, people. It's like them Snopes folks, right? That old nasty hippie cuppy sitting around with their cats, letting the cats make the decisions on what's facts and what's fiction. This is even worse because, half the time the cat could be right. With these Facebook fact checkers, we know they're giving you opinion 100% of the time.
Well, but part of the point of this is that that's who they're contracting it out to, is folks like Snopes, folks like this Climate Feedback, folks like PolitiFact, people who we know, number one, already have a political particular opinion,
right?
So that are not non-biased, that are not objective. They are in fact very, very partisan and have demonstrated as much. But then that they're by the way, they're not just labeling these pieces. They're actually, in some cases, suppressing some of this content based on that opinion.
Yep. Yeah. No, absolutely right. And then that's it's I want to say it's hard to believe, but it's not, because again, we've known that this is opinion based, and that they're directing, their futures. They're directing, their advertising. They're directing their content, based on this opinion. And then again, stand up in front of court, and this wasn't like they stood up in front of the court and said, "Oh, it's all opinion." No, they got badgered into going, "Yes, all right, already. It's opinion, okay."
Well, yeah, exactly. The reason why they had to do that, they had to say that it was opinion, was because then, they're like, well, we're just stating an opinion that's not necessarily defamatory. All the facts that you're disputing are in that piece, and we didn't write the piece, so therefore it's actually protected. But no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to then suppress and use that opinion, in particular the pieces in that piece. You don't get to use that to then suppress someone's speech unfairly, because it's defamatory. What you're telling people is, yeah, no, this isn't true. Well, if you're telling people it's not true, then you have to back it up, and they choose to back it up using this piece. So therefore, they ought to be held accountable for it.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Okay, moving right along. Okay, in Alabama, there is a sheriff who probably, if we actually said it to him or about him, he would probably say that he's not anti-gun. But I would like to say he's probably what Mike would like to call an anti-gun butt, right? Mike, you want to tell the folks, what is an anti-gun butt?
He's a Second Amendment butt.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Second Amendment butt. You're right.
He's a Second Amendment butt. These are the ones that go, I support the Second Amendment, but, and then they list their reasons why they don't support the Second Amendment. Right.
Okay. So right now there's a measure that is being considered by the Alabama legislature, and it is basically it's constitutional carry. Basically would say that if you have a constitutional right to be able to carry a firearm, you don't need to go and get a permit or anything like that. Well, we all know what permits are. Permits are basically where the government takes away your rights and then charges you to get them back or sells them back to you. In these particular cases, you have the sheriff of Mobile, Alabama. His name is Sam Cochran. He's actually fired an employee who took a position, a captain who took a position opposite him. He wants the commissioners there in that county to oppose the state legislation that would create constitutional carry. And his position is that, well, without it, we can't do background checks. And if we can't do background checks, well, then that's going to make it so anybody could carry a gun. Now, Mike, here's the thing we know about background checks is the existence of background checks do not keep criminals from not carrying firearms, right?
Yeah, correct. Background checks are a great predictor of the past.
Right. They're a great predictor of the past, but not even that. Here's the thing. If you're a criminal, right, and you're not going to go get a permit to carry a gun, why would you? You're just going to carry a gun.
Listen, criminals are not getting background checks. Okay, let's be clear on that. There's not a criminal walking into the gun store going, maybe today's the day they get the background check wrong and I'll get a gun. No, that's not how it works. And the sheriff just out and out lies when it comes to this. He's giving complete mistruths on this background check status. So according to this sheriff, if the state of Alabama gets rid of the concealed carry permits, then there'll be no method whatsoever to do a background check on an individual that wants to purchase a firearm. The sheriff is absolutely confusing two separate items. You have background check when you purchase a firearm, which is done federally under a federal form 4473, and that's just done direct through the feds. You contact the feds, you set up yourself a little account, and every dealer's done this, since 1986. Okay. Now, on the other side, you have applying for a background check, which is applying for a concealed weapons permit, which you get a background check, which is administered by the state. So the sheriff has confused these two items, which are completely and differently separate. So the one thing that joins them together, though, Craig, in the state of Alabama, if you've got a concealed weapons permit, you can bypass the background check, okay? Because it says you've had a background check. But if you walk into a gun store and you don't have a concealed weapons permit, you're taking a background check from the dealer. So the sheriff's saying there'll be no background checks anymore if somebody buys a gun without a concealed weapons permit is an out-and-out falsehood, lie, a piece of whatever, however you want to go, wherever you want to go with it. It's not the truth, all right?
It's because he wants to control who can get them and who can't, and he wants that discretion, and that's many in law enforcement, leadership in law enforcement. They want to have that discretion. They want to be discretion. They want to be able to determine who is of good moral character, so that they get, or who has a good need in order to be able to have one. And as far as I'm concerned, my rights should not depend on some sheriff's or some person's opinion. It ought to depend on some objective set of facts. Can I legally possess a firearm? And that's really all that should be required.
Yeah, this whole thing, this whole article, this whole story, just it lists where the sheriff goes, like you said, goes wrong. Again, he's a chief administrator. He calls himself a Republican. He's the elected sheriff there in Mobile County. I think that's the name of the county in Mobile. And he's trying to stay in good with the city commission or the county commission, because that's the ones he has to get money from. The sheriff makes about $1.2 million per year is what this article says in doing background checks for people. So I don't know what the arrangement is there, if he's the only one doing background checks because he's around the Capitol. I have no idea why. That seems like an incredible large amount of money. That's probably what I would guess the state gets, for the whole year for background checks, because they did something like 600,000 background checks last year for concealed weapons applications. So that seems more realistic to me. But anyway, who am I to say that a reporter is wrong, right? They go on in here and they talk about the Second Amendment, and they're also offended, Craig, that we call this constitutional carry. I don't know if you caught this part of the article. It's not constitutional carry. The Constitution does not authorize anybody to carry a firearm. It lets them open carry a firearm. And so it's not a constitutional carry to be able to concealed carry a firearm. Really? Is that how you want to go with this?
Carry a firearm. It doesn't say concealed or it's not concealed. To be able to possess a firearm outside of your home, right? For self-protection.
Yep.
Look, whether concealed or not.
It's here's and I found this rather amazing. The right to bear arms is a Second Amendment right, but it's not an unlimited right, and we know that from 2008 case, from Heller. But it refers to Heller. It says, but also allowed guns to be regulated. Constitutional carry is a made-up term that catches people's attention. Okay, and here's what he uses for his example. So, Craig, I don't even have to argue with his point, because listen to his example. He added that the freedom of religion doesn't give you the right to human sacrifice. No, murder laws stop you from human sacrifice.
Right.
I'll just say that. And the First Amendment, here's the biggie, Craig, the one they always step right into. The First Amendment, you know what? I don't even have to go there. Where am I going? What is he going to say?
You're going to say the First Amendment does not give you the right to yell fire in a crowded theater. But here's the thing, Mike, and you and I know this. You can yell fire in a crowded theater, especially if there's a fire.
Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969. Okay. The case from 40, 50 years prior to that, there, Oliver Wendell Jones said he used it as an example, but it was never a confirmed example. It was clarified in 1969 under Brandenburg v. Ohio that you can yell fire in a crowded movie theater. It set the standard for you, Craig. I could advocate for public violence all I want.
Right.
That's not against the First Amendment. What I cannot do is direct violence against the population.
Well, and you know what? It's funny, and here's the thing: is what they try to do when it comes to the Second Amendment. It's like this, and using the fire in the theater.
Yeah,
we have a set of laws, right? that if you abuse your free speech right, you yell fire in a crowded theater, someone is trampled, someone is hurt, someone's business is hurt, there are legal remedies that you can use to hold that individual who abused their rights accountable. And we have the exact same thing when it comes to firearms, the use of firearms. There are things called like assault with a deadly weapon, things like murder, right? Things like attempted murder. We have those things for those purposes. But here's what we don't do. What we don't do is take duct tape and put it on people's mouths or gag them before they walk into the theater for fear that they might yell fire in the theater. But that's exactly how they treat the Second Amendment. They say, well, we're going to restrict everybody's rights because one person out of 1,000 or out of 1,000,000 even might abuse their rights. And I'm sorry.
Here's what I like to do when these
don't get to do that. I'm sorry.
Here's what I like to do when these people give me the fire in the movie house reference. First of all, I'm done at that point. I'm done at that point having a conversation with somebody who refuses to do the research to find that the law changed 51 years ago. 51 years ago. It changed yesterday, and we forgot to tell you it changed 51 years ago. So when they say you can't yell fire in a crowded movie house, I say yes, but can I yell movie in a crowded firehouse? And then walk away because they no longer deserve my attention.
Anyway, but folks, understand this, and this is, I know as conservatives, we wind up oftentimes at opposite ends sometimes with law enforcement on Second Amendment issues. And there's always sometimes this dichotomy between between law and order and liberty. And where we wind up getting stuck is when we have members of law enforcement who believe, who are, they may be conservative in many, many ways, but when it comes to how what's the word I'm looking for? They think they need to be our parents. I'm sorry, say it again.
Spumoni.
Okay, that's not the word I'm looking for.
Oh, sorry.
But they really think that they ought to make decisions for us, right? And in this case, they think they know better than we do. They think that they are morally superior to us. Yes. And in this particular case, many of these law enforcement officials want to believe, I want to make decisions as to who gets to carry a firearm and who does not. I want to make decisions as to who gets to exercise their rights. Many people think that because they are elected sheriff, they are elected to enforce the law. They think they are the law. They get to create the law. And the thing is, Sheriff Cochran, that's not your job. You don't get to determine who gets rights and who doesn't get rights. Your job is to enforce the law. Yep. And we oftentimes as conservatives need to stand up to these folks. And we need to stand up to these folks and say, yeah, I get it. You're doing this under the guise of, well, I'm trying to protect and serve, but you don't get the right to subvert people's rights just because you think it should be so.
You know, what's interesting is this sheriff is going up against a state representative who's a former captain of the sheriff's office, and they disagreed on this. So he's having to compete with one of his former employees who now, you know, depending on how you look at the ranking system, now outranks him because he's a state legislative member. But that state representative now has done with other people. Now this is the second time this has tried to pass. This is the beginning of the second time now that this is going to try and pass in Alabama. It did not pass last year. It has riled up the members of the House there in Alabama now, to where they're reaching out to other states where this has passed and asking them, hey, our sheriff is saying this is going to happen. What happened in your state when you went to constitutional carry? Because guess what, Craig? It's the same threat. If we have open carry, if we have permitless carry, it's going to be OK Corral on every corner. And every time that they're reaching out somewhere else, they're going, no, actually, we had a decrease in crime is what happened.
All right, Mike, hey, we have to make a call here because we're at almost 30 minutes in, and we still have 2 subjects left to go. So we can either cut it, or we can and hit those 2 tomorrow, or we can do one and not the other, or we can do both and just go way over. What do you think?
I think if we do any story from here on, it's going to take us way over the time. So let's push those 2 to tomorrow and just move to the parting shot.
Let's just move to the parting shot. See if I can find it here. Parting shot. Okay, so you guys know, once again, COVID is, whether you want to call it a thing or not a thing or anything like that. The point is, COVID is going to be around with us for a while, I believe. I believe that we're going to be dealing with variants all the way through until we're going to hit Omega, and then we're going to start doing the double ones. But anyway, we're noting that more and more that guess what? The numbers are going up. The numbers are going up. People are getting it. And now in California, we have to wear masks again, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, people are not actually getting sick. Do you know that in the UK, they just had the first person to die of Omicron? One.
They get hit by a bus while going to get tested or what?
Now, having said that, if you watch CNN, you would think that the world is coming to an end. So what I'd like about this particular one, it tells us how to identify someone who watches CNN. That's how you identify a family who watches CNN.
Where's their gloves? Shouldn't they be wearing gloves too?
No, they have hand sanitizer, so I think they're
okay. Gotcha.
But yeah, they've got their face shield on. They've got their double masking. This
looks like he's wearing goggles underneath there too. So
this is hilarious. But once again, and it's hard to get mad at these folks because in the end, they only know based on the information that they get. And they're relying on CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and all these folks to provide them with information. And if you watch any of these things, or you read any of these newspapers, you would swear that this is the apocalypse. And, if you don't do this to your kids, they're going to die. And they're going to die as soon as they breathe any air that has not come through a mask.
Yeah. Listen, I was at the gas station, it's probably 2 months ago. And there was a woman in her car, and she was not Ubering. It wasn't anything like that. She wasn't sharing her car. She was in her car with her blue rubber gloves on, with her goggles on, with her face mask, with her shield over the face mask. And that's how she was driving the car like that. She didn't put that on to get gas. She just was driving around like that. And I was like, why don't you just call for gas? Have somebody deliver it to you? I mean, you're the kind of person that locks in and gets your food delivered through the mail slot in your door.
Well, you know what? I will say this. I do believe I've come to realize that I used to think people were just born stupid. Now I'm realizing that to a certain degree, stupid is an infectious disease, and it's spread through mainstream media and academia.
Yeah, it's like a drone bee, worker bee kind of thing. We all must fall in line. We all must do this. Yeah.
All right, Maggie, before we go, how about a shout out to our sponsors?
Let's say hey to our good friends at Gorilla Machining, a Grid Defense, and then, of course, the California Republican Assembly. All great people. All can use a few of your dollars. One, you're going to get a great vote, and two, you're going to get some great parts for your guns.
Exactly. Folks, check them out. Their links are in the description to this video. Go there. And when you go there, when you purchase or when you visit their Facebook page or your Instagram or Twitter, however you mention them, however you see them, let them know that Mike and Craig over at The Rundown sent you. And with that, we're going to call it a day. Tomorrow will be Thirsty Thursday. So you folks enjoy, and we will see you tomorrow.
Hasta la bye-bye.